happen. But yeah, it's hard to know, how close it's going to be after that one, because LYON obviously controlled the vast majority of it. Also really curious to see, are we going to get twists and turns from LYON in the draft? Or was that really just, hey, Morgan is the only problem on TL, Dhokla, you draft range top and just make sure he can't take over the game, and that's how we'll win? That remains to be seen.
I mean, just thinking
Go
out loud.
sports, true.
Thinking out loud, go sports ball, and esports. LYON, I think, will scale the risk of their draft based off of how strong they think the opponent is. So I feel like the risks they took with Dhokla in that draft yesterday against Morgan were in part because they thought Morgan was such an exceptional laner, so they found a way to equalize that advantage. Whereas if LYON just thinks that they're stronger across the board than Sentinels, I think we're going to see very standard drafts across the board from Sentinels, and they'd hopefully save their curveballs for the finals tomorrow against CNET.
Makes a lot of sense. I do think it's always really cool, though, because even if you bring that out in one series and you intend to never play it again ever, it's always in the back of people's minds. It's that little itch in the back of your brain when you're drafting against him, like, ooh, but what if this Ferris goes top? We can't play Renekton now.
Yeah, is that Ornn, is it a jungler?
Exactly, right? Like, you really do have to think about that, and I think that is very, very cool. Pick Teemo, I think you're in for some bad times if you're hoping for the Teemo pick. But Neeko got picked, and we do have AShe, which probably means AShe Seraphine for Sentinels, which, of course, it was banned out in the second phase, but is open here.
Man, AShe Seraphine just seems so strong every time I see it. I love any time a team can go for it. The Neeko was locked in, so that definitely opens them up to be able to play it. They were able to win with this in their series against DSG. They just straight up outscaled. The Blitz counter definitely didn't work in that instance.
I'm really curious on your take on this, because I always think it's interesting when there is something that in the meta is objectively strong, but I feel is bad for a team because there's a player on their team that is so important. It's kind of like with Team Liquid, right? People will think about Team Liquid when Core's not an engage and like, they don't look good with Core and Enchanters. Well, Core won Worlds in the Ardent Sensor meta. He's a great Enchanter player, but TL kind of needs him to engage. And I kind of feel like when I'm watching Sentinels, I'm like, yeah, huhi's a great Enchanter player, but when he's not on engage, the team does not look the same. So every time I see them draft an Enchanter, I'm like, ooh, I don't know how Sentinels is going to do here.
I'd also say that the meta is moving heavily towards Enchanters, though, so you just kind of have to do it, especially when stuff like this is up, because if they're trying to pick, let's say he locks Alistair into an already strong Neeko when Berserker Isles is already slamming them in lane, you're just losing the game that way anyway. So picking the AShe Seraphine at least is an attempt to give them a lane to play through.
And we'll see if that can be successful. Definitely want to see them have a little bit more engaged tools here. Of course, the AShe does give you something from the bot lane. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow, nice to try to start out fights, as we have Dhokla likely to be playing the Ambessa, but of course it could be flexed to Inspired. That is something that they did really well, flexing between top and jungle yesterday. Wukong coming through, though, for HamBak. So Sentinels already way more standard engage tools, way more team fight focused. Wukong goes in, you encore off of him, that flies in the back line. You have the arrow to start things out as well.
Beautiful 1, 2, 3 there from Sentinels. We'll just have to lock in their solo laners after the 4-5 bans. Have to be a little bit careful because of that flexible Ambessa. And more bans going towards Saint in the mid lane, really trying to protect DARKWINGS' control mage pool. It's something that he's been, I'd say, more unique than other mid laners in the league, in the sense that, like, huhi is likely coming down in every best of 5. You're usually going to see him on Victor. Maybe he pulls out the Veigar. So he has his own pocket of mages, control mages, but a lot of times they want to protect him in bans from things like Akali.
Yeah, absolutely. That is his comfort, but yeah, it is cool because, I liked when he brought out the Veigar. That was in a situation that I think really did work well. And so we'll see if DARKWINGS can continue to find those. Ahri going to get banned out alongside that Akali. So some of the aggressive picks being taken away here from Saint, as it is the Aatrox ban. So that's going to be taken away from Impact. That is definitely one of Impact's long time, comfort picks here. Of course, we haven't seen Sion or anything like that just yet, so Impact can always go towards comfort there. But Impact in general has been actually super flexible so far this split.
Yeah.
He's thought of as like just the tank guy, but when you look at champions played, he is one of the deepest champion pools so far this split of any top laner in the league.
Dude, he's played 12 champions so far in the 16 games that they played. And Dhokla, after last series playing Varus, Aurelia, Vayne, that only took him to 8.
Yep.
So the Gnar took him to 9.
9.
And it just goes to show that the preconceived feelings you have about these players coming in 2026 can definitely change, and they set up all those bans to lock in the Syndra.
Okay, so Syndra's going to be coming through here for DARKWINGS. A little bit more of an aggressive option, but still kind of fits that control mage build, and they are saving counter pick for impact. Whether that is just to try to actually pound a matchup or to just round out the composition, that remains to be seen. Yone is one of these aggressive champions that they kind of were throwing bans down to protect, and is actually also the only AD mid laner that is really being played, period. Everything else is an AP mid laner, so now I think we are either going to get, some sort of interesting AP jungle coming through, or maybe an AP top laner. They could, of course, just go full physical and say who cares, but then Zhonya's and Tabbies and all these sorts of things do get a lot of value, so there is some risk to doing that.
Yeah, could leave the door open for Inspired to play something really fun, or, I mean, Malphite does some magic damage. I wouldn't call it fun.
Yeah, I mean, my worry for LYON is, yes, Ambessa is a good matchup into something like a Scion, but if he just goes Scion and he gets to a certain point in a team fight, you can't hurt him. You have Jhin and then some melee champions. Of course, the plan here for LYON is, even if you draft a tank, to dive past that tank and kill off your backline. So instead, Impact considering the Gwen here. We'll see what the final lock-in is going to be. But of course, you have AShe and Syndra, two champions with no dashes that are going to be going up against Malphite, as well as Ambessa, as well as Neeko, as well as Yone.
Jax.
The amount of dive there is crazy. So the Jax as an answer here, better matchup into the Ambessa, and it's going to be more about that counter engage. If you're all trying to dive in, you throw down the counter strike, you maybe get a lot of damage out and turn around and fight. And
I'm definitely going to trust Impact on whether or not it's a worthy Scion angle. I feel like the Scion into Ambessa and Yone is just going to give them no push in either of the side lanes, and then Syndra being low mobility against all that engage also wouldn't be able to touch the side lane. So that's why I feel like Impact is compelled to pick Jax here, because it can actually do well into both of those and give them something to play off of. Otherwise, I feel like it would be a situation like in game one where they're just down 5,000 gold before the third Drake. So while technically Scion would be like hard to kill, they just wouldn't have a way of playing the map, which is why I like the Jax pick.
This is an interesting game because I feel like games like this often come down to who engages first, right? If Malphite starts off the fight and hits an ultimate on the Syndra or the AShe, you're probably already cooked, because the follow-up there from these melee solo laners is going to be devastating. They're probably one-shot. But by the same token, if you hit an AShe arrow on a Yone or an Ambessa or this Jhin or the Neeko, or you hit that Cyclone engage on any of them, followed by a scatter, followed by a counter-strike, you are also one-shot. So it is going to be so much about the setup, so much about the initial engage here coming through, because there's a lot of CC on both sides, and there is not a lot of tankiness really across the board.
I agree. This could be a very explosive game, and I'm giving a slight edge to Sentinels here in the draft phase, because I feel like they have more engage tools, I think they have better scaling, and they have more champions that if this thing gets going, it's going to be very hard for LYON to answer. So I think if Impact or HamBak get a lot of gold, they're going to run over this game with what they're able to accomplish.
We'll find out if they're going to be able to get that done. Of course, betting against the Inspired Malphite is pretty tough as well, as he has been so effective on it. And there's these really cheap, high CDR builds. Oh god, this is not good for DARKWINGS at all. Yeah. He just lost half his health.
Range champion. I feel like you should. That's rough. He loses a lot of health there. Gonna have to burn a potion immediately.
Yeah, I mean, he just got walked down completely there by Saint. He just, I'm assuming, just had the fleet proc and kind of just stayed on him, just auto-attacking him. You got to be careful about keeping that range on the Syndra. But Emily is standing by with Golden Glue. Golden Glue, what happened at the end of that game?
They're asking what happened.
I don't actually know. I saw that, I was like, wait, are we on red side or blue side? When I saw them walking mid, it was a little oopsie, but I mean, I don't know. It seems like it's going okay now.
One of the things you kind of brought up, jokingly but also seriously, right, in your interview with Dhokla last time, is your team's ability to learn from mistakes. And I really appreciated how they hung in last game. So what was your advice to them after the game 1 loss?
Honestly, that last game was one of the weirdest games I've ever watched, because we're down like 5 or 6K gold, but then we're walking up to the dragons and just like egoing on them. So, I mean, I think the thing I told them is it looked like we were running a teamfight drill where we gave the enemy 1,000 gold plus on every character, and then we just fought dragons and we still beat them. So I feel like this game we just need to have a bit more of a solid early game, and then we have, seems like, more aura in the team fights.
Nice. And then this, speaking of more aura in the team fights, both of these comps are kind of like a setup of engaged chicken. So what are you expecting from your team in terms of playing out this composition?
Yeah, I mean, I think the goal for both comps is whoever goes first is pretty much just going to one-shot the whole enemy team. So making sure we find their flanks, and then we go first when we see our first engage angle, whether the Wukong starting on the Malphite and getting Yone behind, something like that. So just hopefully engaging first.
All right, you heard it here first. Engage first. Back to you, casters.
Love to hear Golden Glue right there, and I agree with engaging first. And there's so many tools to engage first from both teams, but that all does get set up by who can win the lanes. And during that interview, everyone used all their health potions. So every lane is playing extremely aggressive already in this early game as well.
Yeah, they really are. It's been a lot of trading back and forth, some early bases coming through on the bot side. You can see that Berserker and Niles both went back and got that refillable potion, plus the Cull grabbed there for Berserker. And huhi going to be able to grab an early tier, as you always want to do on Seraphine. The scaling is so powerful on this champion as long as you have enough mana to stay in the fights. And Inspired actually canceled his base, so they're thinking there is a potential angle here. Counter-Strike going forward from Impact is going to be able to find Dhokla. But HamBak just kind of too far away, and now in comes Inspired as Sentinel's going to get the bad news here. Rahel on the run, the 4-shot comes through, and he just gets deleted there. Did not flash anything and just goes down.
A little surprised that he didn't burn flash. He actually pressed the ghost like right before his health bar went to 0, so still ended up burning a summoner. I think really just didn't expect that level of burst. Thought he'd just be able to walk it off. Multiple games now where no one's respected the pre-6 Malphite gank, and Inspired's been able to get a pre-6 Malphite kill.
I mean, credit to Inspired, great pathing. Top lane is getting very spicy. Impact gonna be able to pop the Counter-Strike there, lands a stun, but Dhokla dashed back into the brush right as it landed, flashing forward. Impact flashes back. The wave is in such a bad spot, though. Impact knows he's in trouble. Dokla's gonna go for the kill, jumps forward, knocks him down. That's a solo bolo for Dhokla as he is picking up where he left off yesterday.
Wow, top solo killed there by Dhokla, and that's after absorbing the pressure from HamBak's appearance up top lane. When Impact has his counter pick here, jacks into Ambessa, still ends up falling. Just watching this one more time, there's always that game of chicken with Counter-Strike playing in the wave as Ambessa manages to fly into the bush so Impact can't follow up. And at this point, Impact is just in a bad spot. He wants to get the wave in, but Dhokla just plays around his cooldowns. And at this point, I just don't know if Impact might be waiting on his Counter-Strike, but I feel like it was so far away.
It's really far away.
It's just foolish there.
That's you, Dhokla?
Unfazed.
Huh?
He feels nothing until the Nexus falls.
At least the support hypes him up.
Yeah, I mean, that was Impact getting really greedy. Counter-Strike is a really long cooldown at rank 1.
Yeah, it's 6 seconds left on the cooldown.
Yeah.
He has no trinket to jump to. It's just not respecting Dokla's ability to just all in him.
I mean, that is one of the scary things about laning against Ambessa. Ambessa always has a dash up. Everything that Ambessa does is dash, right? Yeah. So you have to pay respect to that. He did not, and he gets punished very heavily. He's going to jump forward now. Dhokla just jumping backwards, kiting it out. Dokla's wave in a little bit of an awkward spot, so he's going to go for some vision here, seeing if there is a honey fruit to eat up and try to heal through that. This wave eventually is going to push back, but on the other side, Sentinels playing for the scuttle here. HamBak going to be first to 6 as a result, but huhi is going to get rooted and take a little bit of poke.
Yeah, and because of that early gank, a bot lane from Inspired as well. 15 CS lead. I had to go back and check. I'm still perplexed by that Impact death. He wasn't even close to level 6 either.
No.
So just an absolute misplay there. Is up in CS though with the way the waves have ended up bouncing, so it's only 100 gold. Won't actually matter that much for the matchup.
Kobe and I were talking about this yesterday. It's one of those top lane things, you know. Sometimes the wave's getting frozen on you. If I die, I die. You just gotta.
But at least the wave isn't frozen.
But at least the wave isn't frozen. So I feel like Impact gonna want that one back. But hey, if you die, you die. And if DARKWINGS dies, well, you just die. There's not much you can do about that. The fate is sealed, goes wide, but Inspired, he's not gonna miss on the ulti. DARKWINGS needed to flash it to have a chance. Didn't see the Malphite coming. And once you get tagged by the ulti, there is no getting out of that. So that is a pretty painful death for him. As
Don't even have to land the Yone ultimate. I mean, he ulted a little bit behind him too, so even if he flashes the Malphite ult, Maybe he still gets chunked, then he's dead to the next one. So if that's a precursor to how this game's going to go for DARKWINGS, it's not going to be a fun one.
No, I mean, if that's a precursor to how this game is going to go for Sentinels, it's not going to be a fun one. They're already down almost 2K gold here at 7 minutes. It is looking rough already, as there is gold advantages in every single lane right now across the board for LYON. They are creating the edge, and you know, I said it in draft, Golden Glue said it in the interview, it's about who engages first, and when you are far ahead, it is very easy to take space and be the one starting off the fight here. So Sentinels, we'll see if they can try to find a way to kind of inch their way back in, but I mean, we're held down 20 CS right now. Sentinels are at least looking for this dragon, and it seems like it probably will go their way. Inspired is level 7, but has no ulti. Yeah,
Inspired has definitely not been the player to force early dragons in any type of possibly losing situations. Like, whether it's his time on EG, his time on FlyQuest, whenever I've seen him in NA, his teams will actually just let dragons go, even though every other team seems really intent on going for them. But they're in a good spot, 2,000 gold up, he had no ultimate, fine, you can have a Drake.
They're going to be able to grab that dragon, and yeah, just playing around those ulti cooldowns, right? You know, they know they're so ultimate-based, so if you don't have the Malphite ultimate, if you don't have the Yone ultimate, it's okay. Just keep farming that gold, keep creating those advantages.
Yeah, but LYON in general has actually looked exceptional in the last few weeks, but it didn't start that way. They won week 1 against Dignitas, dropped to C9, had that best-of-3 loss to DSG when most of people jumped off the LYON train, but then with their 3-0 of FlyQuest and their 3-1 of TL, have poised themselves to be one series away from the lock-in final. So it just took a little bit of time. There was a 2-week gap between the DSG and the FlyQuest game where they just saw incredible improvement.
They really did, and Saint in particular has been fantastic. The whole team just looks way more coordinated. And it's kind of funny because Golden Glue had a tweet where, you know, after they lost to C9, he was talking about they focused primarily on their early game, and the early game was admittedly, you know, pretty close for the first, 10 minutes or whatever of the game, every game against C9, but they need to then go back focusing on their team fights. So coming to this week, you're thinking they're focusing on the team fights. Well, maybe they should have focused on the early game because the early games have been tough here against LYON.
Whenever I hear focus on early game, I don't know exactly what that is. Like, try really hard in lane. Like, it's the hardest thing to train as a player. Like, yeah, Chovy, just work on your early game. Like, it's just how do you specifically do that? I understand that it works.
Don't miss CS and win the lane, chat. It's simple.
I understand. Just prioritize like team fighting a little bit less, or like Drake setups, and more about how we specifically want to team up in the early game. But speaking of strength of schedule, Sentinels has kind of had the opposite road of LYON, as we actually see a gank coming in the top lane.
Yeah, HamBak is going to be spotted. Will they be able to chase Dhokla down? He has the flash, doesn't even need to use it, and now he's going to go back in. It's the combo onto Impact, and he falls again in a hurry. It's a rock to the face as LYON go up 4-0.
Sentinels isn't even getting to flash. If Impact had flashed that original Ambessa ult, maybe he could have lived through that, but because it connects, Inspired Dhokla link up for another one. And just like we said, if Impact HamBak get ahead in this game, it could be one-sided. Well, same can be true for Dhokla Inspired. Eclipse completed, Inspired well on his way to another strong Malphite game.
Yeah, looking really, really good. And as you said, you just have to flash the initial part. If you flash the public execution, I don't think Inspired ever gets in range, and I don't even think they try it, right? Because then Dhokla doesn't close the gap either, so Inspired wouldn't want to just go into the 1v2. And if he did, HamBak can maybe cycle on him, he could turn it around. But Sentinel solo laners being unable to flash that, let's be honest, when you're playing on 0 ping at a pro level, that is just kind of a requirement. When you're playing against Malphite, you have to be able to flash the ulti, or you are going to be in a lot of trouble. It's just, this champion is so powerful, and it's basically one ability that is so powerful. So if you're able to flash it, you can generally win those fights.
Absolutely, and now it's a 800 gold lead for the Ambessa, 600 gold lead for the Malphite over the Wukong, who's yet to complete Trinity Force, but
the
headshot
arrow connects. Can DARKWINGS knock him down? Unleashes the power onto Saint. Gets the kill thanks to the long-range arrow there from Rahel. Really well done by Sentinels to get one back.
Boys, those don't land often, but when they do, they almost always lead to kills. Saint does not flash that arrow either. Definitely had like a nice path over the Fog of War, so he didn't have great visibility on it. Crazy, Saint was amazing in the Fog of War game where you had to flash Nidalee Spears to beat all the other LCS pros. Couldn't flash the big Nidalee Spear there in the Ash arrow.
The Dhokla.
Oh dear.
Uh-oh. Inspired is here again, and Impact is dead again. This is looking like he's wishing he played Sion.
Yeah, Sion, if you're going to be down 0-3-0, Sion's a way better pick.
I mean, Jax is going to be useless this game. This is going to be really tough, I think, to problem solve for Sentinels when they are this far down. So they're going to send DARKWINGS top. but DARKWINGS is extremely vulnerable to this as well. And in goes Dhokla. He's going to look for him with the public execution, chasing after DARKWINGS, gets a flash, but it doesn't even matter. It's a solo kill between the two towers at 12 minutes. And now in goes HamBak. He's going to get one back here, surely. Gets the shutdown there. That is nice, but on the other side, it's a big fight coming out, and is Rahel getting knocked down? It's LYON winning out on both sides of the map once again.
The individual play from these LYON solo laners has been a difference in this game too, and the Dhokla glow up is insane. These last two series, the counter picks against Morgan, and now this game against Impact, effectively 2 solo kills. The first solo kill on Impact puts Impact again in the bad position where Inspired can execute, and then gets another one onto DARKWINGS. He is playing incredible League of Legends right now.
He really is, and even that dive is able to be pulled off because Impact is at 15-20% HP. Like, he is already so low.
Look, half health Jax at level 9 just doesn't want to reset. He has no TP. He's like, the game is over. I'm going to cheat it. Oh no, here's Malphite. It's too late. Another one of those situations where you don't want to recall, but then you should have recalled anyway because now it goes from bad to worse. And then DARKWINGS just not respecting Ambessa here, level 10 to level 11. And Dhokla didn't even have to ult to get that original Impact kill. And then, as you mentioned, every skill is a dash, so you can chase that Syndra down.
And I mean, what's brutal for DARKWINGS is the ultimate there from Dhokla buffered on the Scatter the Weak.
Yeah.
That is the only disengaged tool you have for the Ambessa. So when that gets immuned by the gap closer, you are just absolutely dead. There's nothing you can really do there. The flash just means nothing. And LYON now going to be able to even up the Dragon score here. 3K is the advantage. They're not completely out of this just yet. I mean, DARKWINGS at least is kind of even in gold, but both bot and top are such a disaster in this game that it is going to be really, really tough. And Inspired working quickly towards his second item will have a ton of CDR with the early Zeeks, and every item he's going to be buying is going to have CDR in it. So it's going to be very, very difficult to play around this Malphite ult when your flash is such a long cooldown and his ult is such a short one.
Yeah, and they spent so many bans to try and protect this Syndra, mid lane bans, but Malphite's still open and he's vulnerable. And look at this, the cheap build from Inspired. He is so strong right now. With Zeeks and Protoplasm Harness at level 10, he won't, it takes so long to kill him, so he can ult pretty much anywhere he wants. And LYON's a minion, they see him now.
DARKWINGS going to be able to land the scatter. The Encore comes through. He's charmed up on the other side. It is going to be HamBak on the run with the Cyclone trying to get out. They do get one kill. Now they go for the disengage. And they're trying to find Inspired. He is very tanky, though, and he's just going to ult right back in onto the head of HamBak, and he is knocked down. DARKWINGS, though, wants to try to find more. Won't really be able to get it. At the end of the day, it is the one-for-one trade. Isles for HamBak.
Yeah, I meant to say Isles is a minion, not LYON is a minion, but even if you're a minion in the jungle, when you walk over Control Ward, it's pretty obvious who you are. And he was a bit early on that play before Inspired could join up. They were going for a big play, but they still end up getting a 1-for-1 trade. And Dhokla stays isolated in this top lane against Impact, where he's going to continue to be able to grow his lead.
Yeah, exactly. Just constantly harassing him. Every time he has that W up for the shield, you just kind of go in, you chunk him under the tower, use the W to absorb that turret shot. And that is why Ambessa can be so oppressive from ahead, constantly harassing you under your tower. You can see that Isles is up towards that top side. Now, does have that rocket belt and is going to be able to stop the recall there of Impact, who is just having a rough time.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 2-level advantage. Dhokla is consistently pulling that top lane wave, so it will aggro and threaten a freeze against him, and then whenever they see Impact actually goes back, Dhokla will quickly shove it and then continue to chip at the turret. So not only is he crushing him in gold, he's also denying him a large amount of experience. And Isles just has no reason to leave, right? It's 3 interrupts now from the Neeko onto Impact's recall, but it's not like Sentinels can punish anywhere else on the map.
Yeah, they can't really answer much of anything. DARKWING's going to be sent up here as well, but we know he's not safe by himself, and the tower is too low, so you can't even approach because Dhokla will just kill it, then kill you. Now he's going to try to walk up here, but Dhokla is up 2 levels over the enemy top laner at this point, nearly 14, and Impact has yet to hit 12.
What a couple of days for Dhokla. This guy is playing at such a high level with the crazy counter picks yesterday, and now just straight up meta Gnar and Ambessa.
Inspired is here. Impact's going to get the bad news. Nice counter-strike. Will buy a little bit of time, but can they go back in? Crystal Arrow comes from downtown. Impact will survive for now. And it is going to be the disengage, so Sentinels at least do not get picked off, but there's 4 members from their team down here to just create a stalemate where Berserker is still pushing mid.
Yeah, should be a bigger gold advantage here for LYON. They recognize that everyone from Sentinels moved bot lane, and Berserker is able to just take down that crystalline overgrowth. And in terms of Inspired's ultimate, it's already half the way back, so he can look for another play soon.
HamBak jumping forward and cloning back is just kind of sidestepping back and forth here, but not going to really be able to find a play. Rahel does not have an arrow, of course, as he used it down on that bottom side, and Inspired nearly has his own ultimate back as Isles is just harassing the Sentinels members who are trying to get in for this scuttle. They won't be able to get there. Inspired finishes that off, but HamBak skirmishing back and forth with them.
I mean, Dhokla's 2 levels ahead of any solo laner on the side of Sentinels. Sentinels is just, again, playing this 1-3-1 and really just trying to waste as much time from Sentinels when they are grouped up. Since they're winning on both sides, they're okay just holding this 1-3-1 and waiting for Inspired's ultimate to be back up, which it is, and he's looking for another play on. Look, a flashless Syndra with no turret.
No shot, unstoppable force, and he gets cut in half by Dhokla. It's just that easy. Saint arrives, say high five, guys. Nice hustle up here. A little bit of encouragement. I was here too.
Honestly, he shouldn't have done that because now Jax gets a little bit of gold. If they would have just kept the 1-3-1 elsewhere, there's no way for them to come back. So now it's actually Dhokla who's going to have to trade waves. We're going to have to switch the sides of the map, go bot lane and stop Impact from getting too much gold.
Isles again just harassing them as they're trying to walk in. Dhokla hunting for Impact, but he's going to be in a pretty sneaky spot. Sentinels at least do push them back, and Impact TP's in. So now they're going to try to make a play happen here because of that teleport misstep from Saint. He goes top, Dhokla has to TP bot. It means they are down a member, and they do lose Herald, which is something at the very least for Sentinels, but still, they're down 5K here once again, and next game, they don't even have the Dragon advantage.
Yeah, let's watch this one more time. It's very simple. Gets the flash with his ultimate early, says, hey, baddie, no flash top, and it's just free. If DARKWINGS is not allowed to be here, but because Dhokla has been freezing the waves so consistently, DARKWINGS feels compelled to break the freeze.
I TP.
No, why you TP, bro?
Oh, Shiba, you say you.
I asked if they have TP.
Ah, it's fine,
We have
guys.
to do Herald
Take
now,
top,
yes?
take top.
Well, that's why he TP'd. Misunderstanding there. He said, I asked if they have TP, and he thought he was calling for a TP, so...
That's amazing. Language barrier at its finest.
It's a second language. We'll give them a pass on it, as they clearly are getting way better on the communication week over week. I also like that Inspired uses this kind of Malphite trick where when you're ulting over the wall, you can get these really fast Malphite ults. It actually increases the speed at which he travels. It makes it a lot harder to react from. So when you can find these angles to ult over the wall, it is very tough to react to because he's coming out of fog and he's going super fast. So that is nice to see from Inspired, always looking for these little optimizations. As Saint and Isles are up here, and DARKWINGS, you got no tower, buddy. The fate is sealed, not going to find him. We'll see if he can actually get caught here by Isles. As a bit of a comedy of errors from LYON. They're just going to hang their heads in shame and back off. Dhokla fighting on the bot side against Impact here. He wants to get another solo kill. Impact on the run. The encore comes through as Inspired has to use the unstoppable force to safety. Dhokla gets the solo. LYON retreat on the top side. Bit of a funny fight, but at the end of the day, it's Big Dokes coming out on top once again in the bot lane.
What a crazy sequence there. It doesn't matter when you have a 6,000 gold lead, you miss all their ultimates, but Big Dokes still has got your back, gets a solo kill in the bottom lane as Sentinels try to get a little bit mid lane with a mild numbers advantage.
Arrow. Nope, not gonna connect.
Inspired doesn't have ult, but wants to hold this turret as Dhokla's getting fed in this game.
He is miles ahead at this point. DARKWINGS going to be back out on the map. Will be able to collect that wave, so at least defends the tier 2 for now. But Dhokla, 4,000 gold up individually at 21 minutes. That is just, what are you going to do?
It's just the way they're playing side lanes. Like, Yone is constantly here, Ambessa is constantly there. It's just so impressive the way that they're playing this.
Yeah, they are playing incredibly well. The macro game heavily in their favor. And of course, when you have these massive solo lane advantages, no one can 1v1 Dhokla, so you always have to have someone hovering him. And if you always have to have 2 or 3 people on that side of the map, you're losing everything on the other side of the map. So you kind of get checkmated a little bit unless LYON makes mistakes, and they just aren't really making any of those big errors.
And it's funny, the only mistake they did make is when Saint teleported and Inspired clearly said, "Why'd you TP?" And that led to the Rift Herald, right? It wasn't even a Rift Herald, but it still cost them an extra teleport. And it's like Sentinels is waiting for these little mistakes. It's just LYON is playing such clean League of Legends, and they kind of have them in this slow checkmate state where they'll push deep, when Sentinel shows on the other side. If you're on their side, they'll freeze, and as long as they don't get picked off, as level 16 Dhokla, he can give a lot of experience to huhi if he dies here.
He also might kill someone. We'll see if he's even going to die. It is a 3v1, but it is a scary one. The flash out from huhi, but he is just getting chopped in half. In comes the arrow, in comes the Encore. He is locked down, he is knocked down. It's a big shutdown. huhi limps away with about 5% HP. Dhokla is terrifying.
Look at that, though. Because of the bounty, DARKWINGS has a 1,000 gold lead over Saint, and the catch-up experience goes hard there. That was a level 18 Ambessa, so extra experience for everyone who was around that kill. It's not going to make up for the game of advantages they've built, but that's a pretty big kill for Sentinels to get.
It is still a problem to solve here. We got this itemization versus this itemization, which is not looking so hot.
You say problem to solve. What is the solve here?
You hope Dhokla dies 10 more times in a row on the side lane.
Yeah, 3 versus 1.5.
Yep. It is looking very, very tough there for Impact to be relevant this game, but he is at least going to knock down that tower, so gets a small injection of gold. They have clawed it back from 4.1k to 3.5, so that's something for them. And they do have a ton of CC, and the other team has a lot of squishy members, so that really is your hope, is that, all right, yeah, there's strong people on the other team, but if you hit an arrow on Jhin or Neeko or Ambessa and you can full CC chain them 100-0, hey, maybe that gold lead doesn't matter as much.
The Seraphine scaling also goes super hard, right? Like if the Malphite, Ambessa, Yone all go in the same line and the Seraphine Alt-E lines up with Syndra stun, like it won't matter that they have the gold leads if every AoE is hitting 3 people at the same time. So from that lens, you can have a little bit of hope from Sentinels. But this is the thing, right? Like Dhokla has 3 solo kills this game. He had 1 solo kill weeks 1 to 5. The 1 solo kill was the Varus into the Renekton yesterday. So very impressive game so far from Big Dokes.
And it was really interesting because, you know, if you remember back at Worlds, obviously he was doing the vlogs, but he was popping off in game 2. He was getting solo kills. He was looking so good as they're going to look for an arrow. Nice sidestep from Dhokla. Sees it coming. Dashes to the side. Clean mechanics. But Dhokla came out of last year on such a high. And then it looked like Dhokla's not even going to have a team because Zamuda was the intended starting top laner for LYON. Then Dhokla does get a team. Doesn't really have a great individual performance in the early weeks, but now last week, this week, he is looking so good for LYON. And it feels like he is back in the groove here and now hunting Impact, who immediately pops the Counter-Strike, has to flash the deadly flourish there as Berserker had that targeted correctly.
Yeah, and they're just holding off all 5 of Sentinels mid with 4. While Yone solos the Drake. Now they can just move down to make sure they secure it with the Smite. Really interesting story, as you mentioned, with Dhokla, because every team passed him over. A lot of them thought they had a better solution, or they already had a player on the roster. For instance, like FlyQuest had Gakos from last year, so they wanted to give him a chance. But Team Liquid clearly opted to sign Morgan instead of Dhokla. Zamuda would have been another one where they had committed to him last year, so wanted to give him a chance, but with the visa complications, it makes sense to bring in Dhokla. Even with all that being said, it must be incredibly satisfying for Dhokla to be popping off the way he is here in the playoffs. 2 games away from going into the finals as a top laner for actually 2 splits in a row now, where no team wanted him at the start of the split, yet once he joins mid-split, his team goes to finals.
He's just such a fun player to watch, and it's been cool because he's one of the guys who's been around in LCS for such a long time. Came in initially, I believe, on Optic Gaming way back in the day, and, you know, was able to kind of really reinvent himself as a player, went down to Tier 2, you know, won most valuable prospect in Tier 2, came back
in Tier
up.
3 before in Tier 2. It's crazy how far the fall was before the rise.
But came back up, you know, won a title with Energy, you know, has had some really good performances, even, you know, representing himself well internationally. And even, you know, kind of from the, like, content aspect, you know, I remember when he came back in last year, him talking about how he felt like he went about being a pro wrong. He didn't care about content and interviews and being entertaining and doing this stuff in the past, and how he was telling me he really wanted to do both this time around, and seeing that as an important part of being a pro, an important part of having a successful ecosystem, you know, is being these brands and being these players that people are interested in watching and think are fun and funny. And I think he's just done such a fantastic job on all accounts.
Yeah, we appreciate it. On his off day last week, that would have been a rest day for the rest of LYON. He came in. He was on the analyst desk with us for the whole day and also did pro. So shout out to Dhokla as we have a 5,000 gold lead. It has frozen a little bit here in this game for LYON, and it actually feels, aside from the Drake stacking being in LYON's favor, so even a little bit more one-sided, feels a lot like that last game where Sentinels is just on the outside, but one fight could put them in a good position. just because of how cohesive their team fighting can actually be. They can't play side lanes. They can't keep up in these side lanes. But as the game shrinks, as the timer goes higher and higher and the objectives become more important, maybe they'll have a chance of finding the fight.
Inspired is level 16 now, so very powerful, unstoppable force on a very short cooldown. He's going to go immediately. Up comes the curtain call. All 3 members get tagged. They are slowed up. DARKWINGS is going nowhere except back to the base. He is knocked down. That Syndra is gone, and they are heading to the Baron.
That Malphite is an absolute unit. He just ults in, and the only follow-up in range is a Jhin ult. And by the way, that's completely enough. Now 4v5. They need to zone out HamBak to secure this Baron.
HamBak's looking pretty zoned out, but they are going to teleport in Impact. Saint going over the wall. We'll see if he can find something. The arrow's going to connect on the side, but look at Dhokla. Seraphine is gone in a hurry. Impact is not going to be able to do anything here at all. Dhokla just fighting past Impact, looking for HamBak, trying to knock him down. Rahel, though, going to be able to knock down Dhokla. Inspired claims the Baron. Saint going to be able to push forward and get one more. LYON crushing this game, 13-5. They've got the Baron, 6.5k gold lead, and Soul is in a minute 40.
Nice killer instinct there by LYON. Everyone actually leaves the pit, and a smiteless Malphite is left inside to finish the Baron, but it's the right play. They annihilate not everyone, but effectively everyone on Sentinels. Watching this ultimate one more time, sees the angle, goes through the Alt-E of the Seraphine, just the E, to avoid the root.
Slow.
And then the Zeke's just slows enough to line up the Jhin bullets, no problem, and it's an easy kill.
Yep, the Zeke slow, as well as the Malphite shard there, slowing him down even more. Gets in the middle of all 3 and just knows, hey, I can look for these sort of angles. That is how strong he is. He was level 16, the enemy mid laner was still 15. Even on this kind of more supportive style of jungler, he is keeping his farm incredibly high. And these are the, inspired kind of accolades since he has been in NA. These are the teams he has been on. Nearly a 70% win rate in NA, 5 titles, 3 MVPs, 3 first-team All-Pros, and he's made it to 6 internationals. So has been completely dominant since making it into the league, and it felt like Blabber is trying to reclaim that throne from him this split. It was feeling like almost a sure thing for C9, but as LYON is getting better and better and better in the lower bracket, it is feeling less and less like a sure thing tomorrow if LYON makes it there against C9.
Absolutely. HamBak trying to get control of this Soul, though. Inspired has ultimate again. He's looking for the angle.
Yeah, we'll see if they can actually find it. HamBak struggling to get in. The curtain call is going to get ripped open here. Impact on the side. He needs to run. He's going to be able to hop back to his ward. Stay safe for now, but HamBak down to about half HP. DARKWINGS knows he needs to get into the team, but Isles finds him. Flash forward. There is the deadly flourish as well, rooting him up. He goes into stasis, but Dhokla is stacked on top of him, and he is going to get knocked down. It's a killing spree there for Berserker. Rahel was peppering Inspired, but couldn't do any damage to him whatsoever, and it feels like the fight is already over. The soul is already given.
Looks like Rahel had a little pea shooter. He was trying to break either Inspired's rock solid shield or the Canik shield, and he did neither. So I think that lowers their chances of winning, seeing that fight as well as the soul going over. It is looking very easy for the bruisers and tanks of LYON to go anywhere that they please. HamBak might look for an angle on Berserker here. They need to make some type of desperation play. Maybe a bit of a tempo trap here. You'd expect him to be back in base, but there's just no angle. Berserker's playing to the side very well.
And Inspired held his ult through that whole fight, so he still has it, right? And yeah, you can go for an engage here, but if you flash in, you're just getting ulted by Inspired. And he is just walking forward confidently, level 17 on the Malphite. Unstoppable force ready to go. HamBak still waiting in that brush. Gonna see if he can find a long distance flank here. In fact, back to base has the Seeker, so maybe they're gonna go for one more desperation play. But I think Inspired has sussed out where he is. He's looking for him with the sweeper, but stun comes in. The arrow connects as well. Great CC chain, but it's only onto Isles. They do knock down Isles, but will that even matter? The Seeker's gonna get used there by Impact, trying to buy some time. Dhokla looking to get on the run. Sentinels know they need more from this, but Inspired is not letting HamBak in. He's just pushing him out the side. You can't get past the rock.
Yeah, Inspired does a good job marking enemy jungler, but they do land enough CC onto Isles that Sentinels can at least push back that Baron. So the Baron power play will be done for as they go back to base with their soul and still have very healthy gold lead as well.
They are very far ahead. 8K, and you can say about 6K worth of stats from the soul, so that is about a 14,000 gold lead if you want to talk about it as far as stats are concerned. Plus they have XP advantages as well. It is rough, but at the very least, Sentinels do hold the base there. They get a kill. Yes, it's only on the support. And now Isles does have a Seekers on top of that Frozen Heart, so tons of CDR and a little bit of playmaking to boot.
Berserker, another solid game as well. 3-0-3, still deathless on the series. But back to your Inspired point with how dominant he's been in NA, I think the most impressive thing to me is the way that every team he's on plays like an Inspired team. EG, because he'd just come over and Danny and Jojo were on that team, did take some time, and it really felt like that was the NA Rookies team. But then also watching the way FlyQuest developed with their young players, Busio, Quad, Masu, and now this team, like we were talking about the series yesterday, Lion series yesterday, when they pulled out all these fun counter picks, they were flexing more, and we're like, drafting-wise, that's the last one that reminded us of that was the FlyQuest versus Gen G best of 5 at Worlds. But then even just like the slow control, the way they play here, feels so much like the FlyQuest that we saw last year. So that's the thing with Inspired, is he's so good at getting everybody on the same page, and that page is like a really high-quality page of how to play League of Legends.
I mean, he's such strong opinions about how to play the game, and he's obviously very, very effective at teaching that methodology as well. You know, you mentioned it, Jojo and Danny leveled up tremendously playing with him. Busio, Masu leveled up tremendously playing with him, and now I think we're seeing that from Saint as well. Saint really has improved by leaps and bounds, playing with Inspired. It feels like he's way more on the same page, making way fewer mistakes than he had been in the early weeks.
And it's February 28th. Like, they're going to be together for 3 splits. You know, assuming that they don't tilt. Everyone's worried about the mental boom of the Inspired toxicity. But listen, winning clears all problems. It's only a problem once you start losing.
Winning.
If you keep winning, it's never going to be an issue. So,
if you go international, you just have to beat easy teams like Gen G and T1, you know, so just keep winning, no problem.
Hey, man, BNK Fearex, they're inexperienced too. You never know what's going to happen.
Never know what's going to happen.
Gen G, they're going to win. Everyone just accepts it.
Okay. Gen G, okay. Everyone else, maybe you have a chance. But Sentinels trying to hold on to this game. Of course, in desperation hours for quite a while now. It is 34 minutes in. It feels like LYON don't want to take any risks. They're just going to take the guaranteed plays. Now they are starting up the Baron here. HamBak will be able to immediately spot it, but the question is, can he do anything about it? Going to take a pretty big chunk of damage there from Berserker, and Saint goes over the wall now looking for him, but he's going to try to find an engage of his own. The Counter-Strike won't find anything from Impact as he arrives with a teleport. The question is, how do Sentinels get in? No one's actually walking forward. You're just kind of poking over the wall here. And slowly but surely, the Baron is getting lower and lower. Inspired can tank this thing forever.
Yeah, they're looking for a flank with Isles around the back.
Baited Seal coming out, the Cyclone as well. Isles goes over the wall, does find a nice engage here. The Curtain Call coming out, trying to take down Darkwings, but Rahel is blocking it, and Isles looks like he's gonna fall. The Baron is secured there, and now Impact is gonna fall as well. The Counter-Strike not gonna get much done. LYON get the Baron, get the fight, and surely now on their way to get the game.
Actually pretty close for HamBak trying to get that steal. It ended up being Saint who gets it, probably with a Q. Again, though, Inspired holds his ult that entire time, never needs to burn it. Still pretty long death timers and a lot of waves that LYON can push all at once.
Inspired just walking past the tower, zoning them off. Dhokla is pushing top, Saint is pushing bot, Berserker is pushing mid. They are going for all 3 waves here. Even if they don't destroy the Nexus, they are looking to deal game-ending damage, and they're looking for Darkwings here. He is rooted up. He can't even move. The slows are oppressive, and Saint knocks him down. He goes on a killing spree as well as the inhibitor in bot falls. The inhibitor in mid about to join it, and the one top is not long for this world.
Dude, 3 inhibitors is probably going to be the play. They'll probably stick around. It is going to be a 4v5, but it depends how safe they want to be. Elder is up in 30 seconds. Got to play low-risk League of Legends, Azael.
Yeah, they're looking for the guarantees.
Check all the boxes.
They don't want the 99%, they want 100. And they are going to be going back to base, spend up all that gold that they just got here, and look to seal the deal at Elder. Sentinels, it's going to be hard to even leave the base to get out and try to contest this, but you really have to take a swing. You've got to take a risk here. Maybe if you take Elder, you have some tiny snowball's chance.
They can't leave the base. There's teleport up for Dhokla. Level 20 Ambessa will kill their Nexus if they leave. Or they'll just kill all the players right here.
Find him. There goes Inspired. Flash unstoppable force. The Curtain Call coming out once again. Sentinels on the run here. Will survive for now. But again, it's the base that's the problem. You called it out. Double supers in every lane. Darkwing's trying to clear this out, but Saint is going to be going for it, looking for it. The fate is sealed as Sentinels are no more. Safe flashing in onto Impact, gonna be able to knock him down surely. Rahel trying to get something done to the side, takes a massive shot to the face from Berserker. Impact is down, the root is there, DARKWINGS is back, but not for long. Berserker survives, and Rahel does not. LYON marching on the Nexus.
5 for 0, 2-0 for LYON. Another gem by Inspired and the squad. LYON is 1 game away from the grand finals.
LYON taking us to 2-0. They are now 8-1 on their lower bracket run. Lounge, can they be stopped?
They cannot be stopped! That's to answer your question.
Hell no.
Yeah.
No, they can't.
Taken up.
Yeah.
Dhokla said himself yesterday he loves lower bracket runs, and he loved playing this game.
He is popping off. He is having so much fun after the previous one and into this series. You know, first game, he got a counter pick. Yeah, it was a more standard counter pick, but the Narn